At dawn on Easter, April 1st, 1945, a fleet of 1,300 U.S. ships and 50 British ships prepared to invade a remote island in Japan's southernmost region. The Japanese, instead of fighting on the beaches, hid in caves, leading to a brutal 3-month battle. This battle was not only the last major clash of World War II, but also one of the bloodiest. Over 12,000 U.S. soldiers, sailors, and Marines paid the ultimate price during the Okinawa conflict. But there's more to the story. In the waters surrounding the island, the Japanese unleashed the largest kamikaze suicide attack of the entire war. Their pilots turned planes into deadly missiles, sinking 26 Allied ships and severely damaging 168 more. Shockingly, nearly 40% of U.S. casualties resulted from these kamikaze attacks. This epic battle raged on for 3 relentless months, involving 4 U.S. Army divisions and 2 Marine Corps divisions. But why did this obscure island become the stage for such an enormous showdown? How did the Japanese devise their unconventional tactics? And how did the Allies respond? Let's dive in and uncover the answers. The island of Okinawa is the largest among a group of islands known as the Ryukyus, situated to the southwest of Japan. This island held immense strategic importance for the Allied forces during World War II. Capturing Okinawa would provide the Allies with the crucial airbase from which they could launch devastating bombing raids on Japan. Additionally, it would serve as an advanced anchorage for their fleets, allowing them to maintain a tight naval blockade, cutting off Japan from essential supplies and isolating the home islands. The operation to seize Okinawa was codenamed Operation Iceberg, and it kicked off on April 1st, 1945. It was a significant undertaking, marking the final major battle of World War II. As the American troops and Marines landed on Okinawa's shores, the initial moments of the invasion were surprisingly unopposed. It must have seemed like a welcome change of pace, especially when compared to the intense fighting experienced in previous island-hopping campaigns in the Pacific Theater. But beneath this seemingly easy start lay a grim reality. At this point in the war, the European front was rapidly approaching its conclusion. Allied and Soviet Union forces had liberated much of Nazi-occupied Europe and were on the verge of forcing Germany into unconditional surrender. However, in the Pacific Theater, the struggle was far from over. The American forces had painstakingly been taking control of Japan's outlying islands one by one. Okinawa, however, was different. It was the last stepping stone before reaching the Japanese mainland, and the Japanese High Command recognized its pivotal role in their defense strategy. They believed that if they could hold Okinawa, they might have a slim chance of protecting their homeland from invasion. The island's rugged terrain, dense foliage, and hills made it an ideal place for the Japanese to make their final stand. As dawn broke on April 1st, the American troops faced a mix of emotions. They had heard stories of how tough the fighting could be, and many expected a massacre akin to the horrors of D-Day. However, as the Fifth Fleet unleashed a massive bombardment on Japanese defenses to soften them up, the expected onslaught of well-prepared Japanese defenders never materialized. The troops landing on Okinawa's beaches were met with minimal resistance. Wave after wave of soldiers, tanks, and supplies went ashore almost effortlessly within hours. The strategically critical Kadena and Yanton airfields were quickly secured. It was almost as if the Japanese had vanished into thin air. However, this was far from the end of the story. The Japanese Imperial Army had a cunning plan. They had instructed their troops not to fire on the American landing forces, but rather to watch and wait for the right moment to strike. This patient strategy was especially evident in the rugged southern part of Okinawa, where General Ushijima had established a formidable defense line known as the Shuri Defense Line. As American troops moved north towards the Motobu Peninsula, they encountered fierce resistance from Japanese defenders. The battle here was grueling, resulting in over 1,000 American casualties. However, despite the intense fighting, they managed to secure a decisive victory relatively quickly. The real challenge lay further south, along the Shuri Line. The Shuri Line was a formidable defensive position, nestled in a series of heavily defended hills that were brimming with entrenched Japanese troops. Here, the Americans faced a relentless series of battles, each one more challenging than the last. The Japanese defenders were determined and well prepared. On April 7th, Japan deployed its mighty battleship, the Yamato, in a desperate attempt to launch a surprise attack on the Fifth Fleet and break the American hold near the Shuri Line. However, Allied submarines spotted the Yamato and quickly alerted the fleet. The response was swift and devastating, as American aircraft launched a withering air attack on the battleship. The Yamato was relentlessly bombarded and eventually sank, along with most of its crew. This marked a significant turning point in the battle. Even after the Americans managed to clear a series of outposts surrounding the Shuri Line, they continued to face fierce resistance. Notable battles took place on Kakasu Ridge, Sugarloaf Hill, Horseshoe Ridge, and Half Moon Hill, each a hard-fought and deadly engagement. Adding to the misery was the relentless rain, which turned the hills and roads into watery graveyards filled with unburied bodies. By late May, after a protracted and brutal struggle, the Americans finally captured Shuri Castle. This was a significant milestone, but the Japanese were not ready to concede defeat. They retreated to the southern coast of Okinawa, determined to make their last stand there. One of the most harrowing aspects of the Battle of Okinawa was the kamikaze suicide attacks launched by the Japanese. These were some of the most ruthless and desperate attacks employed during the war. On April 4th, the Japanese unleashed a wave of kamikaze pilots against the Fifth Fleet. These pilots, well trained for their deadly missions, dove their planes into American ships at astonishing speeds, often reaching 500 miles per hour. The impact of these attacks caused catastrophic damage to the Allied ships. American sailors aboard these ships had a daunting task, trying to shoot down the kamikaze planes before they could strike. However, they often found themselves in a perilous position, as the enemy pilots had nothing to lose and were willing to sacrifice their lives for the cause. The toll on the Fifth Fleet was staggering. 36 ships sunk, 368 ships damaged, 4,900 men killed or drowned, 4,800 men wounded, 763 aircraft lost. One of the most iconic and grueling battlegrounds during the Battle of Okinawa was the Maida Escarpment, more famously known as Hacksaw Ridge. Perched atop a sheer 400-foot vertical cliff, this ridge became the epicenter of a brutal conflict that unfolded on April 26, 1945. It was a battle marked by unrelenting ferocity from both sides. Among the heroes who emerged from this intense battle was Corporal Desmond T. Doss. A Seventh-day Adventist and an Army medic, Doss had a unique conviction. He refused to carry a weapon. Despite his commanding officers ordering a retreat, Doss remained on the ridge. Surrounded by enemy soldiers, he ventured alone into the heart of the battle and rescued an astounding 75 of his wounded comrades. His incredible bravery was immortalized in the 2016 film Hacksaw Ridge, and he was awarded the Medal of Honor for his selfless actions. One of the harrowing aspects of the Battle of Okinawa was the prevailing belief among Japanese troops and Okinawan citizens that the Americans showed no mercy and would execute them on the spot if captured. This led to a tragic phenomenon. Countless individuals, both soldiers and civilians, chose to take their own lives rather than face capture. Some jumped from cliffs and hills, while others resorted to using grenades. In an attempt to encourage surrender and reduce these tragic suicides, General Simon Bolivar Buckner initiated propaganda efforts. Millions of leaflets were dropped, declaring that Japan's cause was lost. Despite these efforts, many chose to end their lives. As the battle neared its end, General Ushijima and his Chief of Staff, General Cho, committed ritual suicide on June 22, 1945, effectively marking the conclusion of the Battle of Okinawa. The death toll in the Battle of Okinawa was staggering for both sides. The Americans suffered over 49,000 casualties, with 12,520 soldiers losing their lives. Notably, General Buckner himself was killed in action on June 18th, just days before the battle's end. The Japanese losses were even more immense, with approximately 110,000 Japanese soldiers losing their lives. Additionally, it's estimated that between 40,000 and 150,000 Okinawan citizens perished, caught in the crossfire of this brutal conflict. The Battle of Okinawa has since earned a grim distinction as one of the deadliest battles in human history. Winning the Battle of Okinawa brought Allied forces within striking distance of Japan itself. However, with over 2 million Japanese troops awaiting battle-weary American soldiers, President Harry S. Truman faced a tough decision. Seeking to bring a swift end to the war, he ordered the dropping of an atomic bomb on Hiroshima on August 6, 1945. When Japan did not immediately surrender, Truman ordered another atomic bomb to be dropped on Nagasaki on August 9th. Finally, on August 14, 1945, Emperor Hirohito announced Japan's surrender, marking the end of World War II. The Battle of Okinawa had played a pivotal role in shaping the events that led to this historic moment, even as it left a lasting legacy of sacrifice and devastation. The Battle of Okinawa shaped the end of World War II with incredible heroism and devastating loss. What lessons can we learn from this history to build a more peaceful world today? Please share your insights and thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel to stay updated on more compelling episodes of military history. Together, let's continue to learn.